good, all right. Very good. Okay, we have the list for O'Connell, Mr. Rhodes is here, Ms. Gallagher. Everyone may have a seat, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Very good. In this case, of course, Dad has the...
Right, I'd like to ask for a closed hearing.
Pardon?
I'd like to ask for a closed hearing, please. We're going to be discussing issues that have occurred in the J case, which are not open to the public.
Your Honor, I would not oppose that, except I would want Jordan to be present during this.
Jordan
Jordan
who?
is the girlfriend of the plaintiff,
Pardon?
and she doesn't meet the requirements in the statute, Your Honor, so if there is a need to ask Jordan a question,
This isn't a J case.
we're going to be talking about things
That-
that are occurring in the J case, and I'm going to be submitting documents. I already gave them to opposing counsel.
Referencing a J case doesn't trigger the closed hearing. The closed hearing is, my understanding, is no longer blanketly available upon request of parties, but based on the fact that the emphasis on open hearings, that that has to fit in a few narrowly defined areas. Number one, if it's closed by law, such as you mentioned, a J case, which this isn't, or number two, a matter which has been closed or sealed by stipulation. And again, we're getting into distinctions between sealed and closed. Or three, someone's been designated as a witness, or four, people otherwise misbehave in court or don't conduct themselves properly. You're free to discuss the matter with presiding Judge Duckworth or Chief Judge Bell, and if this court's mistaken in any way, shape, or form, then of course all future hearings will be closed, but that's my understanding.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So, Your Honor, my client brought a motion to modify her visitation with the minor children. It is not a motion to change custody. She brought a motion to modify visitation based on the fact that she feels as though she has done all that the court, not only here, but in her J case, has asked her to do to prove that she is a fit and proper parent.
I'm sorry, everyone may have a seat, please. She doesn't have to be
She
standing.
has very limited contact with the children now, and that was based on her past drug use. There was an open CPS case. Actually, the case is still open, and I am her appointed counsel in that case. That is case number J 18346 944 P1. And so I have provided a copy of the case plan to Mr. Rhodes, who represents the plaintiff. I provided him a copy of her most recent report for permanency and placement review, and I also have minutes from drug court. So my client was using drugs at the time that the CPS case was open. It was open with respect to her minor child, who is an afterborn child, not the children of this relationship. That child is now 2 years old. His name is Sebastian. And my client was asked to do several things by the Department of Family Services, including not using drugs and entering into intensive outpatient treatment, which was family treatment court downstairs in front of Judge Sullivan. She was asked to take domestic violence classes because she was designated to be a victim of domestic violence. So she completed her Safe Nest classes. And she had to meet conditions of return, which means positive behavior change, being protective, allowing the Department of Family Services to come to her home, to speak with her treating professionals, and to monitor her drug court participation. My client graduates from drug court tomorrow. She has perfect attendance at drug court. She has been clean and sober for almost a year. And Kendra Huffman, who is her caseworker, monitors and, first of all, Sebastian, who is the 2-year-old, has been back in her care since March with no restrictions. Kendra Huffman, who is her caseworker, comes to visit her on a regular basis, has noted no safety concerns with my client, and my client believes that she has gone above and beyond what even this court would have ordered her to do in order to loosen the restrictions on her visitation. So she has, like I said, limited contact with the children. At the time that I filed the motion, and from looking at some of the minutes from previous hearings, there have been some issues with exchanges with the plaintiff's girlfriend. Those have been exacerbated over the last couple of weeks to the point where Kiana is now emailing me on Saturdays and Sundays, and I'm pretty studious about looking at my emails. But every single exchange now has to involve the police. Jordan, who is, I don't know her last name, otherwise I would call her by her last name. Jordan, who is Mr. List's girlfriend, is usually the one who does the exchanges. She always gets the police involved for no reason. I mean, literally for no reason. The kids are treated like refugees, which is not in the children's best interest. They are shuttled from house to car by Metro officers. Yesterday, Kiana was emailing me because Jordan said, I want to see that you have booster seats in the car for the children. She says they're in plain sight, the doors are open, I'm here at the
I
curb.
drive a minivan.
I'm sorry?
I drive a minivan.
Yeah, she drives a minivan, the doors were open, she could see the booster seats. That wasn't good enough for Jordan. Jordan wanted her to come to the front door with the booster seats in hand. My client said, I just don't want to get involved in this kind of stuff, please. Please just send the kids out. You know, if you want to come out and look closer, but I'm not coming up to the door. Police were called, that was the requirement for her to get her kids. There's no reason for it. I understand what it's like to be in a relationship where there are drugs and alcohol and or safety concerns on a personal level and also on a professional level. I understand why trust is difficult when you have a parent or a party or a spouse or a significant other who has drug problems. I understand it. Like I said, I have firsthand knowledge and experience with that. However, at some point, when you have called the Department of Family Services and they have indicated that there are no safety concerns, when you have Metro coming to the house and they have indicated there are no safety concerns, and my client is opening up her life for inspection to everyone here for you to take a look at, and she's demonstrating to you her willingness to give up her life, you know, to make sure that her kids are all safe. And she has a 2-year-old in her custody and has had him there since March. And they still act like every bump and bruise is because she's abusing them. Or they want to, you know, make her jump through 18 hoops to get these kids. And these kids are older kids. So, you know, there's not as much of a safety concern with them because they can talk and walk and speak. They placed an infant with her several months ago. A child who was just a little over 1 year old. So believe me, if they had safety concerns regarding Kiana, they would not have placed a nonverbal child in her home. So, Your Honor, she is entitled to the same visitation that any other parent would have, which is merely several weekends a month. That's all she's asking for, not a change of custody. She's asking for overnight visitation. I had put it on a graduated plan. So for some reason, this case got kicked down the road a couple of times because it got moved from Judge Potter to you, back to Judge Potter, back to you. But I had put a graduated plan in place where she was gonna have one overnight before she graduated from drug court, and then the full weekend after she graduated from drug court. She graduates tomorrow, and we're just asking that she be able to be an active participant in the children's lives with normal routine visitation time, and that the game stop. I mean, listen, I have ultimate respect for Jordan. She helps to raise the kids with Mr. List, but she still has to recognize that Kiana's their mom, and she doesn't get to treat the kids this way.
Who's the one who's calling the police at each
Jordan,
exchange?
she's sitting right here on the front row. This is Mr. List's girlfriend. I have 2 police cards right here from the last 2 weekends. This is
She
what
calls them
happened.
based on what?
Nothing.
Your Honor, she will testify here today, that's why I want her here.
You mean she calls the police as standby sort of to make sure nothing occurs, or she calls them after something?
Have no idea.
Or she
why.
calls them after something occurred?
Yesterday, my client had to call the police because she wouldn't send him out of the house.
Okay.
The week before, she called the police because she didn't know if there were booster seats in the car and she's afraid to come out to the car.
Why don't they just do the exchange at police stations?
We agree with that, Your Honor, let's do it at the
That's fine
police
with
station.
that. I mean, the kids just don't need to sit in the car waiting or in the house seeing their mom outside and Jordan's not sending them out. It's not fair. It's not fair to the kids. So with that, I would ask you to grant the relief in our motion where mom would get 3 weekends a month from Friday to Sunday, and mom wants her legal custody provisions restored in their entirety. She missed first day of school today. She can't go to the school because of the way the order is written. It's just simply not fair.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Rhodes?
Well, first and foremost, there is a temporary order that she can go to the school for the kids and the school activities. That was addressed in my opposition. In the opposition, we have the affidavit of Jordan, and she goes in length of what her concerns are. But more importantly, let's talk about this visitation. Mom never had overnight visitations. This court gave her temporary overnights. It was on a temporary basis only. And then she screwed up and was back into drugs. That's not her first rodeo with this drug addiction and this drug relapse. It's the second time The first time she came here, she goes, oh, I'm 8 months plead. And then guess what? She relapsed. She files this motion at 7 months plead. Irrespective of counsel, this requires an evidentiary hearing, Your Honor.
I
This
was
is a
thinking about
custody.
the same thing.
Yeah.
But it can't be out too far, cause there's
No.
critical rights at stake, so.
We can do it in 60 days if the court has.
I was looking
available.
actually at August 27th in the afternoon. It sounds like both of you are ready to argue it. It just requires maybe some testimony.
I have no issue with that, Your Honor, I really do not. I mean, like I said, I would like to subpoena Kendra Huffman here, or her supervisor, to explain to the court exactly what Ms. List has done.
You can just bring
and-
them.
Yeah, I mean, I can just subpoena them.
If you subpoena them, you may, I mean,
They'll come.
my philosophy was always I want my witnesses to come voluntarily. Once I had
I think what's
once you have to
best workers,
subpoena
though,
people, you wind up not kinda getting the testimony you're hoping for.
I
but-
just believe that Chief Deputy Amity Dorman requires them to
All
be
right.
subpoenaed, so.
Your Honor, the 27th won't work for me. I am open for the.
But
middle
just so
to
we
the
have to
end.
understand, the court's not gonna make any
I'm-
substantive changes until it's heard, so.
Right, I'm thinking mid to late September, because I want to depose Mom.
And we wanna make sure that, it's been alleged that there may be a warrant out of Utah for assault, and we do know there's the, warrant out of the DA family support case,
Mom
but there's a
submitted-
hearing on September 20th.
Correct, and
to
Mom
quash
submitted
the warrant,
documentation
so-
from Utah to show that there is no longer a warrant.
All right,
Your Honor, if I may give to the marshal or approach, I ran this last night off the warrant list
Okay.
in Utah.
she didn't appear. Okay,
And
No,
you'll
this,
see-
this is, first of all, hold on, I can't have 10 people talking to me. So the last time you were here, you asked her to straighten up her stuff. She filed something into the child support case because she's current and asked for the warrant to be quashed.
okay.
This warrant is, as of last week, was no longer active because she paid off her warrant in Utah as well. My client has nothing to hide, and this in itself is not substantive enough to not allow her to have her kids or to be calling cops every
I don't
time
know,
she
what's
exchanges.
going on with what was
mean-
the warrant, what did it
It
concern?
was just a citation in Utah.
For
My
what?
client didn't have the money to pay the fine.
No, but I
and they
mean,
wanted to warrant.
why are we even in court in Utah? What happened?
Me and my sister back in 2012.
Her family lives in Utah, and her sister in 2012.
That was an application.
Yeah,
My
and she
sister
had a
had pressed
citation to
charges.
appear when she was living in Utah, and she moved down here and she didn't pay the fine.
So the incident in question was from 2012?
Correct.
Yes.
And Your Honor, what that incident was, I believe, is commission of domestic violence in the presence of a child, and that was between her and her sister. That's the assault.
Well, true, that
Right.
would automatically be of some concern, but then on the other hand, 7 years ago?
I agree, Your Honor. I'm just pointing out that there is still, as far as I can tell, an active warrant.
Not
That's,
only that, but she has taken steps to remediate the domestic violence
Yeah,
concerns as part of her case plan.
for our purposes, although she needs to clean that up, obviously, for our purposes, I'd be far more concerned if there was no active warrant, but fresh domestic violence
Correct.
charges than an active warrant on stale charges from 7 years ago. Nevertheless, she needs to be responsible and clean that up.
And as you can, well, she indicates to me that she has, and if it hasn't been placed in the system, but I mean, as you can see what she did in the child support case, she's actively trying to make sure that she doesn't have any issues any longer. She has significantly changed, and those behavior changes are what the Department of Family Services looks for when they place a child back in your custody. I'm sure you know, Your Honor, it's not easy to get the Department of Family Services to reunify children with parents because they put a lot of hoops in your direction. And Kiana has jumped through every one of those hoops and she's done it successfully. So, I mean, I'd be happy to have the Department of Family Services come in and discuss with you and opposing counsel and Mr. List exactly what Kiana's done. I think you'll be impressed by the
Good.
parent and citizen that she's become.
Okay, how about September 24th in the afternoon?
that'll work, Your Honor.
Pardon?
That will work.
Oh, very good.
Discovery open until 1 week
Not
prior.
sure, but you're not gonna get much discovery done. I
Well,
don't
but
think,
we wanna submit some
you know,
hospital
maybe a
records and stuff.
deposition, but I don't think any written
What is the
discovery is
time, I'm
practical.
sorry?
1:30. I don't think any written discovery is practical because of the deadlines and length of times involved. But
Right, but we may have disclosures we want to make. I wanna make sure that they're,
In something like this, a deposition might be helpful, or a subpoena to generate certain documents, but written discovery to the other party is usually akin to worthless, like admit you're not a good parent or something, or it's,
I agree.
you know. But September 24th at 1:30,
perfect, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Gallagher?
Sure, in the interim, I would at least, huh?
In the, and in the meantime,
What
the
police
exchange,
station?
the parties want the exchange where? At the police station,
Where's
which
the
one?
closest substation that you guys can do it
Tell
at,
the
so that this
judge.
doesn't occur any longer?
I'm pretty sure the one in Martin Luther King.
Oh, the main- the
Yeah,
main-
I know where it is.
She says the main one at MLK,
Is that all right?
they could do.
Well,
And it would be between
Lake
Michael
Mead and
Clark.
MLK would be.
If it's at the police station, it might be relatively unimportant whether his girlfriend's still involved or not, but it might be best for everyone if, apparently she's involved because your client's sometimes unavailable due to work or whatever. Is that the dynamic? or-
Yes, Your
If
Honor.
it was
Okay.
the one that we're proposing, he would be available once this court does modify the visitation. Right now, they occur while he's working.
Okay, orders remain as is, except, pending the evidentiary hearing of 9/24, 1:30, except that the exchanges will be at the police station.
MLK and Lake Mead. Is that the correct address?
Parties may as
I don't
well,
know where MLK and Lake
since the
Mead
police
is.
are always involved in this anyway, we may as well
I don't know
have the
where that
exchanges
is.
at the police station. The police are
Well, they
always
live up
involved
by
anyway.
Washington and
Yeah,
Decatur.
we live 5 minutes away from
And
each
so
other
they
now.
live here. So in the middle would be the main police station at Alta and MLK.
Is that all right?
That'll work. What building?
You could just go in front of the main entrance.
Well, I
assume.
wanna make sure officers are visible.
I wouldn't have any way of knowing where officers would be visible. I would assume that if it's in the parking lot, there would be cameras and there would be people coming in and out
I
on
don't
a
think these
Saturday.
exchanges are conducted in the parking lot, but
No, I think they're in the lobby.
Yeah, or in the lobby would be great, then it doesn't, then somebody's gonna be around, that's fine.
they shouldn't have trouble finding it, as long as this isn't those main headquarters, then
Well,
in
that's
which case.
what the issue is. MLK and Alta
Yeah,
basically
that
is the main
yeah,
headquarters.
so there are several different buildings, so a party could get confused, so which one, our esteemed marshal will direct the parties in this instance.
Which one, I'm sorry?
They're going to the main,
MLK and
that has
Alta,
all the
main
administrative
headquarters.
buildings as well, MLK and Alta.
I know that there's some doors for records, but I don't think they're open on Saturdays, so I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
building
where they
C.
would go.
Be Building C, would it be?
That's the records.
Yeah, but that's, I don't
Right.
know if
I
they're
haven't
open on
been down
Sunday,
there, so I
I mean
can't
Saturday.
be for sure.
I was
but
down there a few months ago, I don't remember,
Well, they do
there
their
were several
exchanges
different-
on Saturdays and Sundays, so I would assume that they're not open on Saturdays and Sundays for records. So, I don't know which one he's talking about on Lake Mead and MLK, I don't know where that is.
we may be better off with a satellite office, because if you go to the main one where all the
No,
administrative
the one on
buildings, it can
MLK
create
and Lake
confusion
Mead.
as where we meet, what's open, etc. So maybe one of the satellite offices is better.
Tell where you're
There's
thinking.
one just north of the main one. It's like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes north of that. I don't know the exact cross streets offhand.
Well, how about we do this, today's only Monday, how about I look for that address and I email you Mr. Rhodes?
Of which?
The other substation that's on MLK, and I'll provide that address to Mr. Rhodes in an email,
That'll work.
and
Well,
then they can agree that that's where they're gonna meet.
There
as
is
the other
another
There's
substation.
one at 400 South
Yeah.
MLK.
That's the
Boulevard.
main one.
Yeah, that's the main.
But there must be another
There's one
regular
just
substation.
629 North 9th Street. And,
629.
No, that would be kind of in the northeast a little bit.
and 1851 Stella Lake.
Stella,
I don't
believe.
think there's two separate ones on MLK, are there?
I think Stella Lake is
Yeah.
the one.
Well, okay.
The only substations I know of are Sand Hill and Harmon, there's one on
Where's
Cheyenne, up by the Cheyenne Library, that's too far to the way for both of
The
them.
Bolden Command.
Yeah, that's 9880 West Cheyenne.
That's far
That's-
out there. I can't think of where there's others.
so they-
I will look for
Uh,
one that's
this one's
somewhere in
right off
between,
Lake
Mr.
Mead.
Rhodes, and I can email you, would that work?
Yeah, Jordan, you got an address? Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will with Mr. Rhodes prior to Saturday's visitation coming up, and we will
Perfect.
see you then on September 24th.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.